I'm making this announcement in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, being Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, Laws of the State of New Jersey. The Planning Board Secretary has prepared a schedule of the meeting of the Planning Board of the Borough of Kenilworth for the year 2025 and has been posted a true copy of this schedule to the bulletin board located at the front entrance of Borough Hall and has mailed true copies of this schedule to the local source, Star Ledger, and is maintaining a copy of this schedule in Borough Hall. Accordingly, the notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied in regards to this meeting. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Paserno?
Here.
Mr. Mazzio?
Here.
Mr. Scuderi?
Here.
Mr. Luca?
Here.
Mr. Grimaldi?
Here.
Mr. Puglisi?
Here. Is there a motion to approve the meetings of, the meeting minutes of February 27, 2005?
How about Mr.
Oh. I'm sorry?
Oh, Nick, I'm so sorry.
You missed Nick?
Tina. I did, I had him here, but I missed him.
Kathy, he said he was not going to be here in May.
But you are here?
Between your hearing and her
And
access,
Mr. Demondo?
Let the record show Mr. Demondo is here.
Got it, sorry about that.
Okay, so now that we're all here, is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes for February 27th? Motion made by Mr. DeLuca, second by Mr. Demondo. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Communications, Kathy?
Communications, we received a request for a consistency review for ordinance number 2025-02 from the governing body.
Okay, Kevin, would you take 2 or 3 minutes just to give the board and everyone out there a brief overview of what we are voting on tonight?
Thank you, Chairman. The board has the responsibility to look at all proposed land use ordinances that are drafted by the council, passed on first reading. The board is responsible for looking at that ordinance and rendering a decision as to whether or not it is consistent with our master plan. The board then advises the governing body, Borough Council, as to whether or not, as to what our finding is, that it is/is not consistent. So the decision the board has in front of them is to look at that ordinance, see if, in your opinion, it is consistent with our master plan, and if it is, render a decision, and our board secretary, our charming leprechaun, will send a communication to the council and inform them as to our finding. Is that under 3 minutes, Chairman?
Okay, that was pretty good, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So all the board members have read this. We had ample time to take a look at this. We talked about this at length, and is everyone here somewhat want to discuss anything? Are we in agreement with this? Does anybody have any input? That person on the phone is going to phone in. Okay, so if there's no discussion on this, we could just go to a vote, and who's out there?
The issue you're talking about, that 12th Street, the building on 12?
No.
No,
right now.
this is, okay. This is for an ordinance that the council has passed down for our review to find out if we are in favor or not. So that's basically like some really in-house. I don't think we open this to the public.
No.
So we don't open this to the public. It's kind of like passed down to us, we review it, and if we're in agreement or disagreement, we send it back. Okay?
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
you said there was, you had mentioned to Kevin, there were some changes?
The only changes that were implemented earlier in our workshop was that they put in there an ordinance for veterinary establishments and pet daycare.
And the definition of what that was, yeah, I had
Yeah.
posted that on the video.
That was all in there, but I don't want to say it was a slip-in, but it was something more than we talked about, but it exists somewhat in our master plan already. It just elaborates on it to give the pros and cons on where and how.
Okay.
Mr. Kevin?
If I may, Chairman, I'm over my 3 minutes.
Okay.
The primary focus of this is houses of worship.
Yes.
That's in the bold and underlined, as well as various setbacks that are required. The borough is proposing to allow houses of worship in the C commercial zone, which is along the boulevard, behind the boulevard. I have to pull the map up, I'm sorry. Currently, houses of worship are allowed in the community serving district, and it is very limited, only a few places that reflects where the existing houses of worship are. The borough is concerned about future expansion and decided to allow the C commercial district to be available.
So it has no effect on the existing ones, and they don't, if they're in the other zone that you just mentioned?
All the houses of worship currently are in the current houses of worship zone, along with the PBA and the vets and,
Yeah.
other community serving organizations. Any new houses of worship could go in the C commercial zone.
But it has no effect on the existing ones?
No effect on the existing ones whatsoever.
Good, Mr. Gurmel? Anyone else? Okay, so if there's no other questions, is there a motion to approve the council's
Deem it consistent with the master plan.
being consistent with the master plan? Mr. Grimaldi makes the motion, seconded by Mr. Demondo. I'm sorry, I can't see Mr. Puglisi. Seconded by Mr. Demondo. Roll call, please.
Mr. Paserno?
Yes.
Mr. Demondo?
Yes.
Mr. Pantina?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzio?
Yes.
Mr. Scuderi?
Yes.
Mr. Luca?
Yes.
Mr. Grimaldi?
Yes.
And Mr. Puglisi?
Okay.
Okay.
We also have a communication letter from Schiller, Pippinger, and Galvin requesting an extension on application 384, 221 Bow-Wright Avenue.
Want me to run this for?
Okay. Is there anyone here for that?
Is this on Bow-Wright?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Chairman, good seeing you, long time no see.
How are you?
Very good. I represent 50 Bow-Wright LLC. We received site plan, preliminary and final site plan approval, and a C variance, a couple of C variances back in, I think it was 2020.
It was approved in November of 21,
The
and it was.
resolution was January 6, 2022, I think.
That's correct.
Right, so preliminary approval would have expired on January of this year. Final approval would have been expired on January of 2024. When my client, after my client obtained the approvals, this was during the pandemic, or right after it, expected that he could start construction, his business would pick up quite a bit, and it did. It's now picked up to the point where he really needs to go forward with this, has the financing. So what we're asking for, the statute allows extensions on the final, what we're going to need, because it's retroactive to the expiration date. So that would be retroactive to 2 years from, to January 24th. What we're asking for is an extension from that date. It would be a 2-year extension.
From January 24th of 2024.
From 24.
Yes.
Because you have to go back to the original date. So that would mean that we'd have to, it would be extended to January of
26.
26.
2026.
January 6th, 26.
Bless you. Thank you. Okay.
27, if I may.
Well,
No,
I'm
26.
preliminary, but the final would be 26, right? Okay.
Yeah.
24,
It's 3 years and 2 years, right?
2026. Okay.
26.
Mr. Rego? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have anything else?
The only other thing I would say is that my client is, the architect is working on the plans, my client has the financing, he's ready to go, right?
Okay.
I think he's working on the construction plan, and we can file the permits.
I really can't hear you, and so, I don't know if I need to hear you yet. Just give me 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to hear you at all, actually. I don't mean it the way it sounds. I'm having a rough night, as you can see with this ear.
I did prepare a resolution extending the life of the final site plan to January 6th of 2026. If the zone doesn't change, the approval doesn't go away. It's just, this is a protection from any zone changes. For the reasons set forth in Mr. Demassi's letter, Rich had hit on one of them earlier. I guess your funding went away.
Okay, but we have it now.
You have new funding.
Right.
And you had some supply chain issues during the, right early on.
Oh, absolutely.
Other boards that I represent have these same issues. Applicants are requesting extensions. I think from my standpoint, it's very reasonable, it makes sense, but it's up to you. I did prepare the resolution granting it till January 6th of 26.
If the board accepts the extension.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Mr. Damassi, you have anything else?
That's it.
Okay. All right. In front of you, the board, all we are looking at is an extension to 2026. We understand the hardship of finance and things like that. Does anybody have any questions or like to know anything about this? Okay. Why don't we, is there a motion now to expedite this, to extend this?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to accept the extension and go ahead with the resolution.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Scuderi, seconded by Mr. DeLuca. Roll call, please.
Mr. Paterno?
Yes.
Mr. Pantina?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzio?
Yes.
Mr. Scuderi?
Yes.
Mr. Demondo?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Grimaldi?
Yes.
And Mr. Puglisi?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Damassi.
Thank you. Will the resolution be adopted tonight or at the next meeting?
It's set up for both memorialization, well, for the vote, which just happened, and the memorialization tonight.
Thank
So
you
if we
so
can do both. I mean, I dated them both March 13th. I anticipated an approval, obviously it's your call, but I anticipated.
Can I see that resolution?
Yeah, sure. And the resolution parrots the reasons in Mr. Demassi's letter. I attached the original resolution, his letter, and for the reasons set forth.
Does the board have a problem with the resolution being passed tonight? No. We could put it out there. The only thing I would like to do is,
And everything else, any other conditions of the original approval remain in effect.
okay, what I would like to do is, I'd like to move this forward, but I would like you to read this resolution.
Okay? From the start?
No, start at the end and then work backwards. We'll see how. So, I didn't know if you wanted to base this. Sometimes I'm colorful. Mr. Damassi, the reason we're doing this, because sometimes we try to get things moved along, and I don't want an appearance as if we're pushing something through. So what I'd like to do is follow a protocol that we should
Right.
follow all the time, and that's why I asked Mr. Rego to read
The
this.
first three paragraphs are just basically what we did in the
Okay.
past. If you want the meat of it, I can start now, therefore be it resolved.
By the time you explain all of that, you would have been done. Let's
Okay.
do this.
All right. Up front, the Borough of Kenilworth Planning Board previously granted 50 Bow-Right Ave LLC preliminary and final site plan approval with dimensional variances in connection with property located at 15 Bow-Right Avenue, Borough of Kenilworth, New Jersey, more specifically known as Block 6, Lot 6, the tax map of the Borough of Kenilworth, with the use being permitted in the industrial zone. Whereas said resolution was memorialized on January 6, 2022. And whereas the applicant has now requested that the board consider an extension of the prior approval up to and including January 6, 2026, in that pursuant to the municipal land use law, the period of protection from zone changes for the final plan approval has expired. Now therefore be it resolved on the 13th day of March 2025 as follows. 1, the applicant was represented by John Damassi, Esquire. 2, by correspondence dated January 2nd, 2025, Mr. Damassi indicated to the board that he is requesting an extension of the previously approved preliminary and final site plan for 50 Bow-Right Avenue up to and including January 6, 2026, in order to enable his client to commence construction in compliance with the previous resolution. 3, pursuant to the letter, at the time of the original site plan approval, his client was experiencing supply chain issues because of the pandemic and was also experiencing significant delays regarding securing a contractor that was capable of completing the project. It was indicated that various construction companies were committed to other projects that were halted during the pandemic. Further, and in accordance with the letter, a contractor has now been retained and will obtain building permits once final architectural plans are completed. 4, in addition to supply chain issues, the previous delay because of the pandemic resulted in escalated interest rates, and the original finance provider withdrew its commitment for the construction. It has been indicated that financing is no longer an issue and that the applicant has secured appropriate funding. 5, the architect for the project, Larry Appel, estimated that approximately 4 months will be needed to complete the construction documents. Subsequent permits will be obtained and construction will commence. 6, without the planning board's grant of an extension, the previously granted approval may lose the protection from zone changes. 7, no members of the public commented either in favor of or in opposition to the request for an extension. Then be it further resolved on today's date that the extension of the previously granted preliminary and final site plan approval with variances is hereby granted and shall extend up to and including February 6th, 2026. Number 1, the applicant shall continue to be bound by all conditions of approval previously set forth, all exhibits introduced, all representations made, and all testimony given before the board at its previous meetings. And that
concludes?
That's it.
So the planning board just heard the resolution. Is there any objection to what you just heard?
Nope.
Okay, I think that was the best way to handle that, Mr. Demasi.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to ask the applicant and his representatives, if they submit any resolution compliance plans, because I'm unsure because it's been so long. If they submitted revised plans based on the resolution, before construction, there has to be a construction meeting, all those required requirements.
Yeah, we'll communicate that with Mr. Appel, the architect.
There
Okay.
were a number of conditions in the
Yes.
resolution.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
We're good? Okay, is there a motion to approve the resolution as set forth by Mr. Rego? Motion made by Mr. Mazzi, seconded by Mr. DeLuca. Roll call, please.
Mr. Paterno?
Yes.
Mr. Pantina?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzio?
Yes.
Mr. Scuderi?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Grimaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Puglisi?
Yes.
Mr. Demondo?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Got a question here.
I didn't know if I skipped them or not.
Mr. Demasi, the only thing I should have had him put in there, and I know you were here for the workshop, make sure there's enough in the escrow account.
Well, I was putting about paying and stuff. so-
Okay, we're gonna move on.
Fair enough, and I'll get a copy emailed to my office. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.
John.
Okay, next item, resolution application 22-04, minor subdivision 320 North 21st Street.
You have the resolution in front of you. This was the 2-lot subdivision on North 21st Street. The board heard this over 3 meetings, and there was a lot of revisions made, mainly to the rear of the property regarding stormwater runoff, drainage, landscaping, and the rest. The board approved it on March 13, 2025, well, on February 13, 2025. The board concluded that there was no issue with the lookalike ordinance, and everything else is set forth in the detailed reports that Chris and Kevin prepared for the reworking of the plans in the rear of the property, so that lower level wouldn't flood with a lower lot.
Okay, so I wasn't here for the February 13th meeting. I don't know if Mr. Massey, you handled that? So what I'm going to ask is that... Greg? Oh, Greg David?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess what happened is you approve the application, and what we are here tonight is to approve the resolution as stated with the conditions. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution as it's drawn up.
Motion made by Mr. Mazzi, second by Mr. Pantina. Roll call.
Only people who voted in the affirmative in February may vote.
Mr. Demondo?
Yes.
Mr. Pantina?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzio?
Yes.
Mr. Scuderi?
Yes.
Mr. Grimaldi?
Yes.
And Mr. Puglisi?
Okay, that's another item out of the way, that's for you. Okay. Application 24006, site plan North Holdings, 124 North 12th. Is there anyone here for that? Oh,
Mr. Chairman,
hello, Mr. Howard.
Stephen Hale representing the applicant, North Holdings LLC. Thank you all again for your time and dedication to Kenilworth. Appreciate the reports given by Christian and Kevin. We received those and prepared to address such. So again, just briefly, Mr. Chairman, this and board members, this is an application solely to install, no changes to the site, just to install additional bay doors. If you recall, I think I was here years ago, Bill Zeus, that was a factory for years and years and years. And a lot of these older factory buildings have been now updated to accommodate them as an alternate use, warehouse distribution and the like. So these additional bay doors, again, when you have a manufacturing facility, you only have a couple of bay doors. They have tractor trailers come in and do all the manufacturing. So again, no changes to the site other than the installation of the bay doors. No changes, again, the site, I know there may be some residents about that parking lot, there's no changes to that parking lot across the street. I think for a period of time when the utility companies was leasing it out, that's gone, so again, there'll be no, it says overflow, and again, the nature of the business, there really isn't any activity on that property. Mr. O'Brien had raised a question about the roof, the restroom. Over the summer, they, I was waiting for a picture for the time, but they did install a new roof on the property. And then when they redo the building, it'll just blend in on that site. So again, it's a permitted use in the zone, and just unfortunately due to religious commitments, our clients couldn't be here this evening, but I'll do an overview of the operational, my opening, and then we have our site engineer, Mary will touch on that, and then our planner will touch on the planning. And the variances is essentially existing conditions, again, no expansion. But right now, they have two tenants. There's one that's called Manfo Logistics, they take up about 25,000 square feet there. Office Furniture Company, 5 to 10 employees, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 tractor trailers a day. They have their own box trucks and a handful of those. Everything is done inside. They also have a small tenant too, like an ancillary building, and they have about 5,000 square feet. They're just scaffolding installation line. The actual property owners, they have a facility now in Jersey City, and the ability to get these bay doors, they would relocate here. Again, similar logistics type company. They'd occupy the remaining 45,000 square feet. E-commerce, housework employees, FedEx deliveries, about 5 employees, and 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and the weekends. And they receive deliveries of containers one or two days. So that's generally what they're looking to do here. And if there's no preliminary question, I can have James Antonori, our site engineer, take us to the site. He's prepared to address any comments that were raised in the professional reports.
Thank you, Mr. Hell. I think at this point, we'd like to swear in our professionals first.
Gentlemen, with regard to this application, do you swear any testimony you give shall be the truth?
I do.
Thank you. That was Kevin O'Brien, our planner, and Christian Cueto, our board engineer. Can I ask Kathy, are we okay on notice and publication?
Yes.
Okay.
Christian only lies on Tuesdays.
Okay. Steve, I have one question. I was looking at your outline, the requested variances. They seem to me that you have 4 existing deficiencies, and they're not going to be aggravated by this application?
Correct.
So there's
And
no,
Joel will touch on those.
okay, but there's no new variances?
Correct.
All right.
I figured
That makes it-
shared with your professionals.
Okay,
A little overview.
thank you.
Okay. So I'd like to first call upon
Makes it easier.
Mr. McInerney to be sworn.
So we'd like to hear a little bit about this gentleman before we get started.
If you could raise your right hand, please, sir. With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
I do.
Could you state your name and spell your last name, please?
James Mastronardi, M as in Mary, A-S-T-R-O-N-A-R-D-Y.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Starning, if you could please give the board, public, the benefit of your work, educational experience, area of expertise, and we've worked together over the years.
Excuse me, sir.
Chairman, Mr. Mastronardi has been here on a number of occasions. He's been qualified by the board as long as your license is current and good standing. Perhaps the board
Yeah.
will want to consider.
A few times. Everything is in good standings?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mastronardi.
All right, so if you could take us through a little bit of overview of the site, I know you have a mounted version of the plan, and just take us through existing conditions. And I think it was either Commissioner Kevin had talked about centralizing the dumpster location, great idea, and we'll get a spot for that too.
Mr. Mastronardi, is this exactly what we have in our plan, or is that something new?
Same.
Sorry?
That's exactly the same.
Okay, I just didn't know if we needed to exhibit that.
Put it on camera.
I can't hear you.
No, you know what, I
Hey.
can hold it. I can have it.
Mr.
there, I don't know.
Marco, can we maybe get a camera on this?
We do have camera right there.
Oh, he has it there? I can't see that, I can't see Mr. Puglisi. I might as well go home.
On this side. Switch here.
Mr. Mastronardi, so we have that in our packet, obviously it's folded.
If you're familiar with it,
Have you marked that at all? Some of the lines are darker.
the only thing I did was use a marker to outline the building.
All right, then why don't you mark that A1 since it's mildly modified? And what can we call A1?
Yes.
What is-
Site.
It's like-
What sheet is it?
It's sheet 2 of 7.
Okay. Thank you.
So, this is just existing conditions. You see the building takes up the big majority of the lot. Here's the lot across the street, that's called Lot B. One adjacent to the building, Lot A, and there's a Lot C, I call C, on the north side of the building.
Mr. Mastronardi, Mr. Hale, I'm so sorry to keep interrupting.
No problem.
One of the things that we've had a problem with is that when people are presenting, that the public actually cannot see. So if we use the table there, then they can be part of the application.
Easel.
The easel.
Here, take mine. Leave that there. Oh, okay. Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen. Sorry about the...
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, the building takes up the great majority of the site. There are 3 different parking lots associated with the building. This being north through 22, okay? This, to the south of the building is the largest parking lot, called Lot A. Lot B is across the street, across from North 12, on the other side there. That's Lot B, and the lot just to the north of the building, Lot C. Basically, we're just changing or installing.
That's lots right there, the one that's.
Sir, there'll be an opportunity in a moment. Thank you.
Can I just take control again here? For the public, I'm sorry to say, we have to conduct this. There's going to be an opportunity at the end of their testimony. Any questions you have, each and every one of you could come up and ask questions before we make a decision.
I'm leaning so I can see this.
I'm sorry?
I'm leaning forward so I can see it.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, you could sit up further if you like.
So basically, this whole project involves installing 7 new truck bays on the south side of the building along Lot A. That's it. In order to do that, I simply had to change the storm drainage from a pipe that runs along the base of the building because it would interfere with the new truck bays. And elevate it to the level of the gutter. Install a larger gutter, strong, strong metal gauge gutter, and then grade the area along the building to allow trucks to come down and meet that 4-foot elevation for the back of the truck into the building, the first floor of the building. And that's basically the whole idea of this project.
Just want to confirm, I think some of the residents go over that, no changes proposed or anything with respect to the lot across Clark.
No, there are no changes proposed to the lot B, which abuts 6 different residences. I know that. I know that some residences already have high vinyl fences, which have a fence, picket fence that is along the east side of that lot B. But there are no changes proposed to that lot.
And you touch on, and I think one of the professionals noted about centralizing the trash location.
There are a couple of places to centralize the trash. Not along the south side of the building, because there we're proposing some new spaces and the truck bays. But in the corner, in the, I call it the armpit of this building, there's the corner here, and anywhere along the side of this extension of the building. And also, if necessary, we would cut down one tree in an island across the lot and create a dumpster area there. So there's a couple of different options.
Away from the we can submit a plan showing that location, and it'll be certainly screened and all that.
Mr. Matt, I'm sorry, could you please point that out again where you would do that?
The dumpster areas?
Yeah.
Anywhere in this area, along this building's extension southward, or if necessary, in this, I call it an island area between spaces across on the other side of the lot, away from the building, where there are 3 large trees. One tree could be removed if necessary, and we could create a space there.
If you'd rather keep the trees.
Yeah, we're probably better off keeping all the dumpster areas in this over here.
There is a loading bay door right now in the corner, right?
And was Sam going to remove that or keep that?
Well, we can move it down a little bit, Christian, so it doesn't interfere.
I think it's an existing door, so.
No, I meant the dumpster that's down.
You're proposing to keep the trees and put the dumpster someplace else?
Yes.
And the dumpster requires an enclosure?
Yes.
So you'll provide that at some point in the future?
Yes.
You'll provide a detail.
Thank you.
Question. Where are the existing bay doors now? Can you just point to them?
There's 2 sets, 3 sets of 2.
So there's 6 bay doors now?
Yes.
He's saying the existing, not the...
Existing?
Yes.
Existing,
There's 2 closer to the front,
yeah.
2 around the middle, and 2 at this end.
So if you're gonna add 7 new bay doors, what's gonna happen to those parking spaces up against the building?
The owner said, who's not present, said that he's removing 2 of them near the end, so he's only adding 5.
And what happens to the parking spaces?
That's what Sam said, right?
Yeah. And there's all that parking across the other
But-
side of the parking.
Yeah, but there's 9 spaces right now on the south side, lot A, in the middle of the building. So if you're gonna add 7 or 5 new bays,
Okay,
Wait,
That's
existing.
No, on the other side, I have it proposed.
You know, what's gonna happen, I'm sure, I don't know when this site came about, I'm sure those 9 spaces weren't there just for the hell of it.
And Steve, do we have this, does the board have this new?
Yeah, you,
Yeah.
Jim, that was also.
Probably next sheet.
This is,
Yeah, this is,
What's the-
yeah, sheet 3 of 7, shows the.
I didn't even ask about the term sheet.
As I'm saying, it's semi-permanent, that's what
Mr. Mastrinotti, do you know what's going to happen to those spaces, or you're not sure?
We have, this sheet has to be revised.
And that's sheet 3.
Sheet 3.
So on this sheet,
Outside of that building, everything has to
So you're going to combine,
Where the state, now the state.
turn radius, so yeah.
So there's 6 spaces. Reduced to. I mean, it happens. He's bad.
If the board looks at sheet 3, which is south side modifications, it shows a proposed 6 parking spaces in addition to the new bay doors.
See it?
I stand corrected. There's 4 existing spaces. 4, not 6.
No, this is.
Unless you, there are 2 over here on that south extension of the building.
Existing.
They're not true bays. So it shouldn't, they shouldn't count. Along the south side of the building, there are 4 existing bays. We're keeping those and adding
3 or 7?
7 on the plan.
So what's the total existing and proposed?
adding 7.
Hey, Mr. Mastrinotti, can you regroup? What's existing? Here's my question. What's existing? What's proposed? Maybe we could do it that way.
Okay. Existing along the south side of the building are 4 truck bays.
Okay, that's existing.
We're adding 7. Total 11.
Okay. That's a little different.
and just by way of operation, our clients have indicated, again, there's no change in intensity, but it just helps with efficiency. Things won't be backed up, there's always going to be an open bay where there's delivery, if you try to climb them, whatever else, they can stage out in the street.
Okay, that's a good question.
Yes?
Can we ask questions?
Sure. At this point, I think we need to, yeah.
Okay. So my first question is,
Yeah.
on the sheet 2, the lot C, you can leave this up here, where lot C is at your property. Yeah, that's on the north side of the building.
Yeah.
And does this owner own the property that's north of the lot C? No? Okay, that's.
Currently, north of Lot C is, well, a yard that has, quite frankly, a lot of junk.
And north of Lot C is another industrial area.
Oh, yeah.
South of Lot A is residential. So my suggestion would be that if you're gonna combine the dumpster area to someplace, you put it in between the industrial areas away from the rest. You should at least consider that.
Right, but let me point out that south of the parking lot, Lot A, there's an 80-foot wide paper street, which is, I mean, just grass and trees and.
I'm getting to that part too.
Okay.
I am 5 houses away from that lot.
Okay.
That lot A, so, and I can hear dumpsters picking up at 4:30 in the morning. So if they were north of the building, in that lot, at least my street, 11th Street, would appreciate that. If you're going to do anything in your armpit, it's interesting that you call it an armpit, because
It's messy. There's fancy cars, there's project cars, there's old industrial equipment, there's many things that are just sitting there, and they've been there for years. I walk by there every morning, pretty much. You said you're not doing anything to this lot. Well, right now you're talking about putting 7 new truck bays in, the press truck bays, so that the bays line up, the tailgates line up and all?
Because the lot grades downward from right to left on this drawing, and the first floor, finished floor remains level, we really only have to lower the pavement significantly towards the north, like this set 3 over here.
That's the only place
Three
you're
over
taking out.
And then a little bit, much less in the middle, and then none on the left side.
Okay, so you know the property had gone over, probably before the ownership, had gone through a large environmental cleanup.
Oh, yeah.
And none of this work is going to impact any of that environmental cleanup, capping, or whatever else is done.
Because I understand from Bill Zeus, and I've dealt with him for many years, and he's near the end of his cleanup, and, no, it will not, no.
Okay. You're changing you mentioned about the storm drainage, and that's subterranean right now?
No. Towards the north side of the building, the pipe sits on the ground.
Okay.
And that would interfere with the truck bays. And then gradually it goes, its head is half underground, and then it disappears around a third of the way from the left side. So, but that all has to come out and go on top, and then come down nearer to where it can go across and enter the existing storm drain.
Okay. I would suggest either to our engineers or they ask the applicant to have some type of view of that to make sure it's actually going there. Because as you said, the paper street that's just below this parking lot, you could just visually, you don't have to be any type of engineer or anything else, you can visually see where this lot dumps out through the fence and into the storm drain that's in the paper street. So whatever system's in place right now, not exactly working right.
Nope.
No. No, just.
I made a comment in my report to inspect the TV, that storm system to make sure it was adequate.
Well, I don't think it's getting to it.
There's an existing storm drain along that paper street.
Yes.
Horse trail.
Yeah, that's Washington Ave. There's actually a standard street catch basin.
Yeah.
And it comes out right between the fence gate, sweeps around, right into it. Dog sniffs there every time. So it's not working properly. So, maybe if we're doing these improvements, we can make sure it's either, I don't think anybody's talking about stormwater system on your property, but as long as, if there's grading and stuff going to be going on in the parking lot, these things could be taken, you could take this time to make those corrections and make it work right. As far as, you're presenting it that there's a nice island and trees, the parking lot has seen better days. So if we're coming in here and we're putting this amount of work into the building, maybe we could tighten up some of the curbing, some of the patchwork and stuff like this. But again, so dumpsters, if you have opportunities to place those dumpsters on your property, away from the residents, that would be preferred. Cleaning it up, getting the drainage to work, and as far as the bays going, I know you stated that this would not be an increase in intensity, but you did say a company was going to be, a part of the company that's in Jersey City is going to be moving here.
Well, there's 45,000 square feet vacant, and they would take it over, and again, long intensity, they just give us 9 to 5.
Okay. We're getting seven
Yes, but I know the owner has said to me several times, the net increase is 5 because
Okay,
he's
5.
moving, to- yeah.
We're adding 5. We're adding 5 after we take away 2. Most of the time, there's maybe 2 or 3 tractor trailers in that lot during the day. So if we're adding a net gain of 5 bays, he's doing it for a reason. There's efficiencies, you know, there's more tractor trailers. Now, and Chairman, tell me if I'm eating up too much time.
You're not taking too much time, but I think we got to hone in on the testimony. Let's
Okay.
figure out what, I understand where you're going with this, and that's why we asked what's existing, what's proposed. I think we've made that point 2 or 3 times, and I think I would like Mr. Mastronardi to keep going, and let's just iron out with our professionals what they've already put in their reports to what you're saying, which makes a lot of sense.
The last thing that I want to just add for the on-site improvements, whether the intensity will increase mildly or majorly, this is a paper street. There's green there. There's residents across the way from there. A simple thing of some type of green buffer would be a great situation of some fast-growing, large arborvitaes or something to help, again, buffer that. Because again, we hear all this starting about 4:30 in the morning. And I know this has been there since before my house was built.
Actually, as late as 1995, it was still had a good number of employees and a lot of coming and going, but
Yeah.
gradually went downhill because overseas, whatever.
I think you're going to hear, and the board may want to consider, because this is about the impact of the residents and Kenilworth. The board's probably going to hear from the people staring at us right now. Because of this location, a lot of your truck drivers disregard the rules of Kenilworth. They'll probably tell you about how their cable systems have gotten ripped out of their house, how the street has gotten damaged, because from your property south is a non-truck route, but your tractor, the people coming to your facility are driving up and down that street and causing the damage to these residents. So with that, I'll let you follow the chairman's lead.
I was just gonna say, the most expedient route is obviously from 22, Springfield Avenue, North 14th, and then Monroe, and towards into the site. I don't see why it would be easier for trucks to come down the boulevard to 14th. And then in that way, I think 22 is the most expedient way for them to enter, right?
Well, we have a traffic pattern that we follow,
I think
but
that they're required to follow the truck routes, and this is good to hear. And if there are violations, we'll make sure that they advise the drivers, post it, and also require with the companies they deal with to follow those rules and follow the truck routes.
so those are legitimate comments by Mr. Grimaldi. The residents do have a hard time over there. However, the policing the trucks that go in and out is the responsibility not of really our police department, but of course, if they get caught doing something wrong, they're going to get summons. But they need to follow traffic patterns, and that's, I think, what you're saying, Mr. Grimaldi, no?
Yes, I mean, maybe there's some things that our professionals could devise beyond the no trucks sign. Maybe the owner could work with, we had a different project on the other side of town where I know the police and the residents were actually doing a combination surveillance cameras that would be able to be shared with the police. So then if a resident gets his cable ripped out of his house and there's a tractor trailer sitting in the lot with a cable wire hanging off the front end of his truck, well, maybe we could see that on a video camera. I don't know what the answers are.
Is there such a sign as, let's say, trucks cannot make a right turn
Yes.
out of the?
Yes.
That,
Well,
Well,
on
well-
the boulevard, on the boulevard.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, you can't speak yet. I'm sorry. You will have your turn, I promise. Don't forget, though. Yes.
I don't remember if it was a resident speaking here, I think it may have been at a council meeting. And again, I'm not 100% certain, didn't hear it with my own ears, other than from this resident council meeting, that they've gone and filed zoning complaints about the trucks using the street, and the owner said there's nothing he can do about it, he cannot police the truck drivers in that manner. So, I believe according to that resident, there's outstanding violations, zoning violations that are outstanding now. And I think a lot of them stem from this. Again, this is from hearing a resident speak at, I believe it was a council meeting a couple weeks ago. So, I mean, it's definitely an ongoing issue, and I don't know how you can stopping the trucks from going the wrong way unless you have somebody posted at that gate 24 hours.
no, but if there's an obvious sign. that
There's there's signs on the boulevard, if you turn off the boulevard, it's well signed, there's a big sign that says no trucks, and they still make left turn. So the sign's not doing anything for
I'm
anyone.
sure it'll reduce it by quite a bit, but
Mr. Hill? So we're probably talking about conditions of an application prior to hearing the whole application.
No doubt.
So basically,
Signage and the like.
I'd like to see, all these comments are important, but as far as rules and regulations, the traffic signs and things like that, they need to be posted. But if the sign on the boulevard says 25 miles an hour and the guy's going down the block at 40 and he gets away with it, that's something that happens. But if he gets caught, he gets summons. So we will look at that at the end of this application, at the end of your testimony, so we can then compile all those things and then see if we can make it, however it has to work.
Sure.
Okay?
No problem.
So thank you, Mr. Grimaldi. You brought up some great points for the application in the town. Did you have something, Chris? You wanted to add to that? I feel
Well,
like you're
actually-
fighting at the bit here.
I mean, not on that, but on this project.
Okay.
We have
Why
our
don't-
reports. We have our reports.
I know you have your reports. Why don't we let Mr. Hale's professionals finish up, wrap it up, and we'll have a list of questions, and we'll move further. Do you have anything else, Mr. Over here? Well, that would be you.
No, I was,
Did you want to touch on the reports or?
yes,
Or
you know, the both reports. Sure. Kevin's report.
Okay.
Well, first one, Harbor Consultants report. I mean,
We're going to
relevant,
touch on the engineering.
yeah, the engineering. Number 7.
Before you go to number 7, could you, I'd like you to kind of go back to number 1. I know that Mr. Hale discussed, you said 2 tenants, but there's 3 tenants.
No, there's 2 right now.
There's 2 right now. So the one,
25,000 is vacant.
so the third one that you were talking about, that was in Jersey City, is that the,
That's the owner's company.
that's Home for You? Or is that?
Yes, home for you.
And they will be, so that would be technically a tenant for this. Correct. For this project. Correct. And based on your outline, you said that the first tenant, Manitoba Logistics, has 1 to 2 tractor trailers a day.
Correct.
Home for You will have
Around the same.
around the same tractor trailers?
Yeah,
Or boxes?
containers, maybe. Containers.
Containers, yeah. Okay, and Sky Mason, you'll
Just
say,
maybe scaffolding storage.
and what type of vehicles are,
Just smaller trucks.
so basically the first 2, well, Sky Mason and Home for You and Logistics is the only ones right now with tractor trailers. Correct. And that's tenant 1 and tenant 2.
In the main, approximately 45,000 apiece.
Continue.
Going to number 7, provide 1 EV parking space. We can do that.
Sorry. Sorry, guys. Can you go to number six? Mainly because of the future parking. And you just go and discuss that topic a little bit more. That because I know that the required parking based on the square footage is 110. But will you need 110? How many employees, how many visitors, how many?
That I can't testify. The inside of the building, I really can't testify.
But generally, limited employees, 5, they're saying approximately 5 to 10 for each of the larger companies.
So
is the parking,
is the addition of the other parking lots just to,
it's part of the property,
it's just,
was when-
or is it just to make the parking comply?
Right.
Yeah,
So,
and there's no, the comment, all of it will be related to the 3 tenants on the site, no leasing out spaces alike. Or for storage or for other uses.
I'd like to point out, as far as the parking, that,
So, I'm sorry, so Mr. Hale, you said that there'll be no additional leasing of spaces?
Leasing like to third parties.
No subleasing?
Correct.
No parking
There's parking spaces, requested restriction that for the businesses on site.
so I've shown 50 spaces in Lot B, but they could, and 10 by 22 spaces, but they could be increased up, actually up to 90 spaces, they're 9 by 18. I've used just 50, and we still meet the requirement of 110 spaces.
Now can we go to number 7?
Yes.
Again, back to number 7, we can comply with that, provide an EV parking space. 3 for the total 3 total 4.
Should be what they can. Everything they comply with except what they can't.
Number 9,
Rather than
comply with
say,
that.
here's what we'll do. Can't
Place any curb sidewalk.
Mr. Mastronardi, so you have a report in front of you. Can you tell me in this report what you can't do? If you're going to comply with everything here, I'd like to know what you can't do, what you have a problem that you can't do. Thank you.
That's an easy way to do it.
If you're going to tell me that our engineer has put forth this document, and you're saying I can meet these requirements, tell me the one that you can't, or the 2 that you can't. That's what we want to look at.
We can comply with everything.
Good.
You can comply with everything. We're done.
Double check.
Bring up your next one.
Yes.
Mr. Mastronardi, you may want to look at item number 11. That has not been provided.
What is that, Kevin?
Color rendering of what this looks like.
Color rendering.
We recommend that the color rendering.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that.
Yeah, no problem. It'll match we've done to match the building.
That's the engineering report. And then
Plan use probably.
planning report, I just stuff So, Kevin, you brought up some questions. Maybe you want to go through some questions?
Sure.
So does that mean we're done with the engineer? You're going to comply to everything on there?
There is some additional testimony I'd like to, sorry,
Please, let's move this.
Number 4, page 4, number 3, there's currently a sign about the environmental investigation cleanup. Can you provide any information on that? Is it still under investigation?
Yeah, it's, I think you mentioned that it's under active remediation, although it's here in the end. Certainly, as Mr. Raleigh pointed out, any soil service would require any appropriate DEP approvals.
Yeah, Mr. Zeus, Bill Zeus, the previous owner, he went through, pardon the expression, hell, and paid almost $1 million, I believe, for the cleanup, and, I mean, he's wiped out, and but he's near the end, and, it's been cleaned up tremendously.
If you do have to do any storm sewer renovations, that environmental investigation affect storm
No,
sewer?
no, it's just about finished.
They hauled out a lot of stuff out of there.
Are you good?
Yes.
You're going to comply with everything on the engineer's report and then some,
Yep.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm okay with that, if you're okay with that. Mr. Kevin?
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Item 3B, which is on page 2. If there's any additional buffer landscaping or screening proposed, the site is currently in violation of the ordinance.
We're not proposing anything on these plans, but we will provide landscaping if desired. Like Mr. Malone asked.
Definitely desired.
We can do that.
So the applicant would have to come up with some kind of plan for the
Yeah,
board
we'll
to review.
give the landscaping.
Will the existing 6-foot chain link and barbed wire fence remain?
They have no problem if you want the barbed wire removed, that's fine.
I was under the impression we have an ordinance here that we're not allowing barbed wire. Am I
It's
wrong?
existing, but they have no problem taking it off.
Why don't we check that and,
The barbed wire is allowed under certain circumstances in the industrial zone. They're okay. I just posed a question for the board's consideration and for the applicant, and if the board says it's very unsightly, then that would be a discussion with the applicant that the board may wish to have.
well, Mr. Hill already said that they
People
don't.
like it for security purposes. It's either way, we're fine.
And then I'll point out that these are wide open lots. They do have gates. I can't recall seeing them closed. Others who live in the area could add to that.
Well, I'll yield to the board later on, but for one, I don't think that the barbed wire is a good idea.
I do note that, as you can, the fencing is pretty beat up currently. We've discussed solid waste. Mr. Hale, still on page 2. Mr. Hale has said that all the lots will be consolidated.
Yeah, I guess the question is, I don't think we can consolidate the one across the street, but certainly the ones that are contiguous, we can consolidate.
And the ones across the street can be consolidated in their own. Okay, very good. Comment sheet 3 of Mr. Mastronardi's plan refers to the CI zone, which does not exist. We should probably correct that. Is there any change to the lighting on Lot B? There are currently 4 Cobra head streetlights there. Cobra heads are the ones that come out on an arm. You know, they've got that oval-looking lens. It's got the orangey kind of street color. Any change proposed to those?
No.
The board may want to discuss that when they get to it. But these are streetlights in a parking lot that directly adjoin residential. Noted the residential came long after this building. I don't know when the lights were put in, but they look very old.
Can we get a lighting plan?
For the lighting ISOs, show the actual throw, so you can see if there's going to be a
Right.
right?
Yeah, recommend a lighting.
Right, am I right with the word?
Lighting plan, ISO process, yeah.
If you get like this stuff, you got.
I do, Mr. Mayor, as a mere planner, I would suggest to the board that if this were a new application, these streetlights would be completely inappropriate here. But yeah, let's see what it is, and let's see if we can improve it.
Makes sense.
Well, on page 6 of 7, he does have this lighting set up here. However,
And 7 shows lot B. And those overheads provide significant lighting for that parking lot as it is.
well, what is the impact to the neighbors and the people there with this
With the limited hours, with the limited hours, it's going to be shut off probably by 10 imagine, beyond 6 o'clock.
Can you provide lighting about
And after shut off, yes.
Chairman.
Can I ask if we could just pause or back up a little bit? Your question was, there's some existing Cobra Head lights there now. And on page 6 of 7, they do have a lighting diagram that does show candlelight in where things are going or maybe where they exist. What is their proposed lighting diagram, if one, you're not satisfied with?
Chairman, the existing lighting plan shows 0.7-foot candles on the residential border. That should be a 0. So there's a significant throw. 0.7, 0.6, 0.5. There should be 0.0 at the lot line. Okay. So that's a lot of light.
That's existing.
That is existing, correct. But we're giving site plan approval. Borough always looks to improve situations.
And you also have to consider, though, that the 6-foot fence, the 6-foot picket fence, wood picket fence, and behind that, an 8-foot, for most residences, an 8-foot vinyl fence, actually doesn't allow, and then you consider the angle of throw, of light, it probably winds up being on the other side of that fence, almost 0.
Mr. Mastronardi, how high are the light poles?
I'd say about 20.
You say 20?
I'm guessing about 20.
You're guessing you don't know?
I don't.
Okay, I'm sorry. Chairman, I leave that to the board, I think they're higher, but let's let Mr. Mastronardi tell us that.
Okay.
But I, as a mere planner, I think that this really throws light into the residences.
So on that, Mr. O'Brien, on that, John, on that last comment, you have the isoflux patterns on 6 and 7, you got a lighting detail, light pole detail, you got a detail of the heads. I'm sure by some program that's out there or some vendor that you could get off the vendor for the luminaires, you could probably get a 3D graphic on there to show what the throw, in your case, is from the light pole at a certain height, where it comes down, what the angle is, and how far it's going to reach into the residential border.
I could get the actual height, do a cross-section of, an elevation of the light coming down the angle.
On the residential border.
Right.
And then that, with the 2 fences that you talk about, that should provide enough comment to, or enough discussion possibly. How's that, Kevin?
Yeah, but we can't anticipate the fence on the other side. Your fence
No, it's
is
your fence,
a
right.
chain link with barbed wire fence. The light goes through that. We cannot anticipate the fence on the other side because that is under other control. So there may be a fence, there may not be a fence. Some of the residences have buffer of their own, some do not.
Can I ask a question? How many existing lights do you have on the property that Kevin is for?
4, Chairman.
And those are the Cobras?
Yes,
The
sir.
ones that are on the plan, they are at a 20-foot high elevation. Is it possible?
We don't know that.
That's on
These
plan.
from there.
The ones, the proposed.
We don't know the height.
No, these are the existing ones in line B.
Put hoods on.
Okay. On page 6 of 7, am I reading something wrong? It's on page 6 of 7, there's an illustration that shows the light
Actually,
pole
if
to be
you
20 feet in height, bottom left-hand corner. Now, it could also be 21 feet if the footing is sticking out of the blacktop by a foot or so, but I don't think so. So it looks like you got a 20-foot light.
Okay, actually, I just noticed that I had assumed a 25-foot height. I was conservative. I assumed a 25-foot height. If it's any lower, then you're going to get less foot candles on the neighbor's side. But again, it's a 6-foot picket fence, board like picket, that blocks a lot of that light on the neighbor's side.
Okay, but
It's a
that's not
continuous fence.
on the other side,
No, not the neighbor's fence, our side.
okay? Yeah, I relied on Mr. Mastronardi for those numbers. He now says 20, correct?
It's gotta show it on the
25.
plan. It's too
I
much-
assumed
it's too much
25
talk. It's
in
gotta
my
put it
lighting
right.
program.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The existing lights that are there, Kevin, are not being changed. They're going to keep them and add the balance to the parking lot. My question was, where I was going with this, is that the existing lights that are there, can they be changed over to LEDs in order to distort the light and not be so offensive to the neighbors?
You could put shields on the front so
And
it doesn't
put,
go that far.
and put the
Or hoods.
eyelids or the horse shields on them.
That's a very clever way to deal with it, Chairman.
I'm sorry?
Thank you. Very clever way to deal with it, yes.
So we're assuming that it's a-
Rely on our engineer to do that.
We're assuming that it's offensive, but we don't know if it really is.
Well, you're here for a site plan approval, and all these things need to be taken into consideration. With respect, I'm not here to assume anything. I'm here to
Right.
figure out if it's going to work or it's going to not, or if it's not going to work, not if it's going to not.
So,
And what we have to do is be very, very thorough in what effect your application is going to have on the building, water runoff, lighting, the public, all of that. So that's why I'm just trying to iron it out and talk it through. But I feel like I'm doing, with respect, I feel like I'm doing a lot of engineering here, and I'm not hearing the answers that I need.
well, bottom line is, they're existing lights. I'll do a more thorough lighting analysis with the actual height, considering the height of the fence as well, and see if there's any overspill. That's all.
Kevin, the lights you're talking about are the ones on the telephone poles on 12th Street?
Yes.
Okay. Chairman, just, I understand your point, and I agree with it, but with correcting it and getting to our requirement of 0 at the lot line is definitely what we want to do, but we want to keep that place well lit, because things happen, nothing happens in the bright light, bad things happen in darkness. So keeping that area all well lit is good. But yes, cutting down the flow over into the back of the residence, because also, Kevin, there's the picket fence, the chain link fence, but I believe when that whole area was developed, somewhere along the line, somebody put up like a board-on-board right behind the chain link fence, and then
Yeah, I see
the neighbors proceeded to put their own fences up.
Yeah.
The only thing that, I understand your point about the overflow with the fence and all, but if you look at some of the neighbors that are behind you there, when they put a deck out their backyard, well, they're right there, their head's looking right over the top of that fence, so the shielding of the fence does nothing for the guy sitting on his deck. So, but again, I think Mr. Chairman, the chairman came up with an easy solution to it.
So, Mr. Mastronardi, regarding your comment about an existing site, my job as the planner, I represent the board and the borough, as well as the citizens here. And when I pose questions, it's because I anticipate that the board or the residents are going to ask those questions. Been with these guys a long time, and I generally, not always, they surprise me, have a pretty good idea of what planning concerns they have in mind. So that's why I pose these questions. And that's why I rely upon a prepared engineer to come back and give us suggestions or refute suggestions, say we don't need any change. The ball is in your court. You say it's existing, we knew that. So it's up to you, sir. And the board has made suggestions, that's their decision. You've answered my questions. If you're satisfied with that question, we can move on, sir. Satisfied with your answer, excuse me.
Kevin, one last question. Based upon the look of the lights that were
talking about, these are on the outside of the fence. And these are also, they're the same street lights like the street lights. And they also have, some of them have the solar panels on them.
They all do.
Aren't these then like the ones that you rent from PSE&G?
I suspect so, but I figured Mr. Masternati would give us that information. He hasn't given it to us yet. We don't know if they're rented, leased. We don't know if PSE&G put them up 60 years ago plus and gave them to the owner. We don't know what the arrangements are.
Okay, because I was going to say.
A well-prepared engineer would have those answers, or we'll get those answers.
Because if they are PSE&Gs, they may not be able to change them or something.
Let's let them answer that question and tell us what the facts are.
Understood.
If I may suggest.
Yep.
But sometimes you can't get both. In other words, you want a well-lit parking lot, and you want it to be zero at the lot line. Now, the row of spaces that's right along the lot line is not well lit. So it's a give and take type of situation, really.
We're all looking forward to how you address it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Question is, when Lot B is utilized, what will happen to the equipment that's parked there?
As I said, I think that was a utility company that was renting for a period of time.
Okay. So there'll be no
Yeah.
heavy equipment over there at all?
Correct.
What do you anticipate parking there?
Possible overflow parking, which we don't think is needed, but it's part of the property. And again, when it was a factory, obviously a lot more employees than e-commerce.
So no RVs, no Winnebagos,
Yeah.
no abandoned vehicles,
Yeah.
because they're there.
Make sure they're gone.
Okay.
Mr. Hale or Mr. Mastinati, no heavy equipment, as you said, in Lot B. These are 10 by 20 spaces. Will trucks, small boxes, small box trucks, larger pickups, or something along those lines be parked there?
I guess if needed, but based upon the type of operation, we don't think so. But again, it's part of the industrial zone of the business, and it would have to, again, the hours are 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, so if there was, it wouldn't be activity after 5.
Will there be any vehicles parked there overnight?
Again, we tend to doubt it because we don't think that lot's going to be utilized, but certainly if there's, say, an employee vehicle or a truck, it could be parked there. I don't think there's any in that industrial zone restriction against the parking, but it possibly could be used.
No, there are no restrictions. Just asking the questions so that so the board can make an intelligent decision, as they always do. Sorry, just making sure I get this down. We discussed the monitoring well. How will the new facade blend in with the existing facade? Christian and I both discussed the color rendering. I presume you did not bring one this evening.
No, we didn't have an opportunity.
Sure.
Well, no problem supplying it. It'll blend into the existing.
And Mr. Hales represented that the roof has been replaced.
Yeah. We'll get your photo. They were supposed to supply it back. I didn't receive a photo. I was going to send a photo, but we'll get it over to you.
Is there room for that welcome to Kenilworth sign for those United passengers? Is there a signage plan? I note that there are a number of signs along the street. They're all individual, some small, some big. Some appear to be banners that are attached to the fence. Is the applicant anticipating consolidating those signs in one place? Continuing the banner signs with only 2 tenants, now going to 3, are all those signs needed?
Any excess signs can be removed and consolidated, and would comply with the signage ordinance.
Any comments about a central location, or you're going to keep it pretty much as it is?
Probably. Again, as long as it complies with the ordinance, not seeking any sign variance.
Thank you, Mr. Sorry, I still got my company clerk typing skills here. There are 12 mailboxes in front of the building. Do you know how many are used and how many entities? I mean, a lot of places get mail delivered to places without necessarily being
Yeah.
there. Do you know how many are utilized?
Yeah, we talked to the owners, and I think only a handful, and then I don't have a problem consolidating. I think at one time, again, Mr. Seuss had a number of different tenants in that building, and they had all these different mailboxes, but no need for all of those.
We don't mind the mailbox, or I don't mind the mailbox, not the purpose of my comment. Just wanted to see if there was, you know, more tenants than we know, or more utilities, more entities stopping at the property for any reason.
Not that we've been told.
Okay, I'll leave that to the board then, as to if they want to change. Proposed lot C has an existing gravel path and a grass area along the building. How much grass will be removed, Mr. Messina?
So that area, parking lot C, is a little unknown. I'm not sure what the owner wants to do with that. I don't think he intends to even use it, as far as I know. But,
Top lot.
okay,
I think you said no grass.
Well, there's grass there.
it's not, it's like half grass, gravel, grass. and-
So the question is, there is grass now, existing gravel path now. You have a parking lot on the plan. Whether you use it or not, is part of your site plan approval. The question is, will you be removing the grasses there to build this parking lot?
I don't know.
Will that affect your impervious cover numbers?
Yes, well, if it's fully paved, right now though, that grass is not, it's a mixture of gravel and grass, right? And it's hard packed. So if it's paved, it could affect it, but in a very little way, in a very minimal way.
But you don't know right now.
I don't know.
You can provide that information?
I'll get it from the owner.
Thank you. People in Lot C, which is the parking lot along the northern part of the building, along the narrow strip, how are they going to get into the building? I could not find a man door on that side. Okay, thank you. And, yeah. Sure what?
There's like three.
Mr. Mastronardi will find out.
We were getting on a spill like that.
Okay, Mr. Mastronardi will tell us. Those are my questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Mastronardi.
Was there a door or not? I couldn't hear you guys.
I seem to remember seeing a smaller access door.
Yeah, I think there's.
Nothing equivalent to like a bay door or anything, but it was access way to the Charlie side of that building to get in there. Where it went, because there was multiple businesses there. I
10th Street?
Yeah,
There's at least one door on 10th Street, maybe two, there's at least one.
and there was one bay on 10th Street on the actual.
There's an overhead door and at least one man door.
Yeah, if you look on sheet 2, Senator, there is a door, a little projection about 2/3 to the right.
That's seaside, by the way.
Towards the east. There's a door indicated there. And another door right near the corner on that side, off lot C.
Yeah, dead center of the plan on C2.
That whole area is gravel, and then once I go overgrowth, take grass, only fall grass.
Yeah, Mr. Mastronardi, you indicate a loading bay on that side, on your plan, but there's no indication of a man door as our fire folks are telling us.
See, the base of this plan, I've had for 20 years, or something like that. And I got it from an older survey, so I don't know if I don't think that's an active loading bay.
Mr. Mastronardi, we're relying on your plan. You tell us
I
exactly.
say I
what-
don't think it is, but I don't know for sure.
You let us know, sir.
Kevin,
you brought up the fact of we're going from 2 tenants to 3. And that's in,
I think the chairman wants me to stick to my report at the moment. If you got something
No, I'm
else,
sorry.
maybe the
I thought
chair
you-
will open it up to the board.
Yeah, can you hold that for a minute, Mr. Grimaldi? Because,
Thank you.
but don't forget it, please.
Nope. Write it down. Those are my, anything else, Mr. Mercenari, we should consider? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Grimaldi, did you have a question?
you were speaking about the number of tenants. And that's in, just in this portion of the building? Not this?
Where that
Excuse me.
scaffolding
There's a contractor in there and a
Yes.
few other things.
is.
But, so, he still has a right to park in this parking lot?
It's all part of the same property.
Okay.
That is.
V&J contractor.
Yes.
The
To my
rack box.
Huh?
The rack box, yes.
Yeah.
Have you concluded, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mastranotti, you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay, Mr. Hell, do you have someone else you'd like?
We do have a planner to address the plan, again, as council noted, it's existing conditions, but I'd like to call up our planner.
Yep. When you're ready, if you could raise your right hand, please. With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
I do.
Could you state your name and spell it, please?
Yep, it's Golda. Legally, my last name is McMillan. I got married in January. So it's MacMillan.
We call you Miss McMillan?
We're having like the big wedding in September. It's not officially.
Is,
TMI, I'm sorry. Just want to keep it inspired.
Is it M-A-C or MC? McMillan.
You know what, let's keep it inspired.
Aspire, okay.
Okay, so this fire.
Not coincidence.
Educational experience here.
Spell the last name, I'm sorry.
Spire,
Yeah.
S-P-E-Y-E-R.
Have you appeared before this board before?
I have not, but I have appeared before
Okay.
boards sort of in the surrounding Union County area, and my company's Apology, we actually represent Westfield and Cranford.
Okay. Steve, why don't you basically
Yeah,
just
give a little-
introduce her and...
Background.
Sure, so I have my master's in city and regional planning from Rutgers. I'm also certified with the American Institute of Certified Planners, and my professional license with the state board, my professional, the PP, the planner's license. My company is Topology. We're based out of Newark, New Jersey, land use planning firm. First time before Kenilworth, so happy to be here, but I have appeared before other planning zoning boards. Name a few, Fanwood, Roseville.
We're fine. We're good.
Okay.
Are you with Phil Abramson?
I am.
Okay. That's all.
Thank you.
All right, so obviously you well familiar with the site, and what the relief that we're seeking. You've had an opportunity to review Mr. O'Brien's report and the Harvard report. If you could please get the justification of the relief being sought in connection with this application.
Sure, so your board planner has outlined, I believe it was 5 variances in total. I will, first just really quick, I mean, we went over what the proposal is. I'm just gonna go over a couple quick reminders just to bring it to the testimony of the variances, which are all existing. So this is an industrial zone, the I zone. There's an existing building, warehouse, it's a conforming use to the industrial use. There's a couple block and lots within the site. We're looking to do most of the improvements, or if not all the improvements, mostly on that parking lot that's adjacent to the building. All the variances that we're seeking tonight, they are related really to the related conditions. There's no expansion to the building footprint, no expansions to coverage, etc. So I can mostly skip over our proposed conditions since we covered it, but I will just say that planning-wise, what the proposal is to modernize the operations and to make some better parking loading solutions really to the site. Industrial uses, this one particular sounds very old, sounds like it outdates some of the residences even nearby I heard tonight. industrial uses and demand of certain loading and loading bays have modernized over the decades. So that's what we're here for. We have some ancillary improvements. Our engineer talked about some gutter upgrades, some trench drains, some of that as well, but it's mostly around this, the loading bay operations. So the variances, they're in, it's at Mr. O'Brien's report. They are all existing, and they're mostly about the building structure. So front yard and rear yard require 15 feet. We have 5 approximately feet for the front yard and 5.5 for the rear yard existing. Maximum impervious coverage, 85% is permitted in this zone, and 95.1% is what exists and is what is to remain. Open space is a 20% requirement, and we have 5% existing, and it's to remain. There was a citation about the planning and fencing buffer to the residential requirement. I will ask the board planner about that citation a little closer, just to confirm it is a variance, because I saw an inconsistency in the citation, and I just want to make sure. But generally speaking, all of the relief is totally appropriate under the C2 criteria of the municipal land use law. Under that, you don't have to prove hardship. The legal test is really, is it a better zoning alternative with the proposal, and is there no negative impact? And that's what we believe, that all these variances are technical in nature. Better operations will be proposed with the loading, and ultimately the board can look at this as better alternative of having the project overall in light of these variances. So I'm just going to give the C criteria to each one. Some of them I'm going to combine because they're very much similar in the nature of the testimony. So the front and the rear yard setback, we're going to combine that testimony. These are an existing building conditions. The location's actually not even within the scope of where we're doing the loading bays. You know, there are some retaining walls, and I looked at the plans, and sometimes when you put fixtures and it becomes permanently affixed to the building, that's like a new encroachment. You look at that, that is well beyond the 15 feet. That's not in the scope of those variances. The next one, I'm going to combine the open space and the impervious coverage. Sometimes I don't want to do that because I know open space, you know, when I think of it in a residential context, that's an amenity residential, but this is an industrial site we're talking about. So I think in light that these are existing conditions and that we're not doing a proposal that's going to impact those further, if anything, there was testimony tonight by the engineer about the loading bay, you know, may have had some kind of impact on like a stormwater, but there's going to be a gutter upgrade and trenching is proposed on the plan. That's been looked at. So in terms of the improved coverage, it's not an increase in that. And the operation itself, like we're not parking the cars or trucks on pervious. So sometimes I want to look at, well, is the operation in itself an impervious coverage expansion? That's not the case. Those vehicles are going over what's already impervious. So then the planting and fencing buffer, I did look at that citation, 12023.8. I'm sorry, let me take a step back. I looked at the citation in your report, and it looked like it referred to a different district. So I just want to clarify, I think we're referring to the citation at 120-23.8F, which is more about the industrial. And that speaks to about requiring a solid wall, solid fence, or a compact evergreen planting no less than 4 feet in height. So when I review the plans and I see this 6-foot board-on-board fence on our side, and there's testimony about the 8, I mean, it's off-site, so I don't want to, you know, let's disregard that, it's not on our property. But what is on our property that we can control, I was going to say the vinyl fence on the other side, but on our site, we have the board-on-board fence. So overall, I think we actually might technically comply with this, but if, in the case we're not, and I want to err on the side of caution, there is the board-on-board fence that, you know, meets that intent of the buffer, the screening, which says a solid wall, solid fence, or the evergreens. I do know that this is a, you know, residential adjacent use. There's testimony, the parking lot, it's not having these improvements proposed on that block and lot. So it's, I don't want to say outside the scope, but it's not in the impacted area of the new loading bay.
If I may agree with Ms. Spire, yes, the citation in my report is wrong. Ms. Spire has much better vision than I do. And I thank you for the correction. It is indeed item F for Foxtrot, 1 followed by B for Bravo. Thank you. Better looking guy, so.
Good job, good job.
Okay, well, a great report.
Let's say
So, again, the fence is there, so I think, professionally, I think we do comply with that, but to err on caution, we'll ask for the variance, and our negative impact testimony said there is that fence is there. So overall, this just really brings us to the purposes of zoning, and I can close out with negative impacts. It is a conforming use, therefore, in the eyes of the policy, it's consistent with your master plan. Your board planner did bring some points into his report about goals in the master plan, and I think the main one of those points that we're consistent with is the one that speaks about providing adequate infrastructure to meet the needs of the industry. Again, this is an upgrade to operations to meet, what is more modernized loading demands in a building that's aging, and perhaps decades ago you didn't need as many loading bays, and we have a different demand when it comes to industrial operations, and that's what the applicant's proposing. And normally I usually give, at least 3 purposes of zoning. I always like to give 3, but because this application is so simple, I'm really just gonna stick to 1, and that's purpose G. I think we advance purpose G of the municipal land use law, which speaks about appropriate locations for, in this case, industrial uses according to their respective environment. An industrial zone sounds like it's a very long-standing industrial building, so this is where you would have this on the site. It's where existing loading is, where the building is, the site plan makes sense. So, I believe all the benefits outweigh the detriments, and that there's no substantial detriments to the zone plan or the zoning or the public good, and benefits granting the variances, which are all really existing, outweigh any detriments.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was refreshing. Any questions for Ms. Barrett? Spire.
Fire.
Any questions for Ms. Spire? Gentlemen?
No questions, Chairman. Thank you.
No questions. This board has no questions for Ms. Spire, which is rare.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no further witnesses at this time, but certainly those that have testified are here to answer additional questions, and certainly if there may be some questions from the public. So.
Thank you, Ms. Hale. I think if we want to just pause a little bit before we give our opinions, I'd like to have someone make a motion to the public. Motion made by Mr. Mazzio, seconded by Mr. Pantina. All in favor? Aye. Okay, people in the public, you're allowed to come up, state your name, spell your address, and you can speak to this application and this application only. Would anyone from the public like to come up and speak?
Good evening. My name is Frank Stallings, Stallings. I live on the corner of 12th and the Boulevard. So, and I'm retired and I stay home most of the time. So I see the traffic more so on 12th Street than most people do. Kids go to school in the morning, they come in front of my house, walking down the boulevard, go to Harding and the middle school and so forth. And cars and trucks do not slow down, they make that turn to come off. And this gentleman here said that most of the traffic comes off of 14th Street from the 22. If a truck is in Cranford, they don't go to 22 to come down. They go up 12th Street. I've had them at 6:30 in the morning. I've had them as late as 7 o'clock in the evening. And they don't slow down, they speed. And between all the cars coming from the north, the backside north, because 12th Street, you can turn left or right when you come out. And if you go down to 8th, you have to wait for the light. A lot of people don't want to do that. And I got kids that walk across there in the morning to go to school, like I said, on the boulevard side and that horse path, you call it. Okay? We put up signs saying, slow down, our kids live here. They don't care, they fly. In 5 years, I've been complaining to the former chief and other people that it's an issue. They put one black box up there one time for about 4 days and said, oh, everything's fine. That was about 4 years ago. But since then, traffic is getting even heavier. Now, the plan that you showed me up there for the building, they're gonna put those bays on the backside, on that gravel area. How wide is that lot? Can a 60-foot tractor trailer get in there?
Are you asking the question?
Well, I'm just.
Yes, a 50-foot trailer can get
I'm
in.
making statements.
Yeah.
I didn't hear anybody say that it's like 150 feet or whatever it is. Because the tractor trailer, the trailer's 53 feet long. And you can't get in there and turn around, they're not gonna do it. And they're pulling on the street and unloading there. Okay, we've blocked the street. It's already a narrow street, you got cars parked on both sides, and you got all this obstruction going down. And if a tractor trailer's parked here, they're not gonna see a kid come off of Montrose sidewalks going by. It's a very big safety issue. I've complained to Chief Seuss before. I've asked about the traffic officer to come out and check things. I've even been trying to get a hold of the city, the engineering board. But everybody gives me a wrong number. Don't tell me where they're located, so I can even try and sit down and talk solutions that we can do for this street. And it's getting worse, because as cars come off 22, 14th Street, you can't turn left. 13th is a dead end. 12th is the only one that goes straight through. 9th is a dead end. 10th is a one-way. And you're down to 8th. Nobody wants to be down to that light, all these cars. So they fly up and down 12th Street without any disregard. And the sign that's on the boulevard saying no trucks, it says no trucks, your GPS is wrong. It doesn't say anything about fines. It doesn't say anything about nothing on there. Tickets will be enforced, nothing. So I mean, there's a lot of issues that we've been trying to sit down, a number of us, to get a hold of the engineers in the town and come up with a solution. I mean, I'm all for business. I don't care if they build a high-rise back there, so long as it's safe on the street. And there's a lot of families up and down there that got kids, and we all I've complained so much you didn't want to hear me no more. But I just think they ought to come in and sit down or have a meeting with the people that live on that street and get all their concerns before you approve this. I mean, we have to find a solution to keep the kids and the families all safe.
You did say you live on 12th and the Boulevard, right?
Yes, I live at 340 Boulevard, right on the corner. I'm out there in my yard working almost every day, and I see these tractor trailers coming in and out of there. And when I'm not in the front, I have a deck in the back, I can see 12th Street. And I can see them coming down that street. I even see cars coming down that street, acting like it's a 4-lane highway. And somebody's gonna get killed, and that's my concern. My kids are grown, so I mean, I'm not worried about my kids, but there's other people that have kids on that street.
Thank you, Mr. Stone.
Okay.
We appreciate it. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Please state your name and spell your last name.
Hi, Donna C. Frank, F-R-A-N-K.
Can you spell that again? I'm sorry.
Donna C. Frank, F-R-A-N-K.
Thank you.
52 North 12th Street. I'm right across from where the factory is.
Okay.
I want to go back to the signs that they're talking about putting up. There's already 3 signs. Two by the exit of the parking lot from the factory, and one on the corner of the paper street of Washington Avenue and 12th Street. That's been there forever. That says no trucks. The original sign from National Tool that pointed the truck route going down 12th Street towards Gun Row is still there. There's a second no truck sign across from the parking lot exit that's been for the past 2 years. And none of them go anywhere. We have, well, you said the tractor trailers are 50 foot. I've compared to the houses across the street from me, between the cab and the tractor and the trailer, they're like 75 feet tall. I've seen the truck go slow, and if the neighbor's lower, then it's already been taken down by a truck. I've seen them go slow, go under the wires and go up. By the time you plug anybody, the trucks are gone. So, and I know it's hard with police still, they're busy. By the time they get there, the trucks are gone. I would like to know how we're supposed to report when the trucks going up and down, because there's a lot. And I'm not against more bays going up, I'm against more trucks going up and down the street that shouldn't be going. Like the neighbor said, a lot more kids on the street than there were before. When my kids were little, I had to worry about them. My kids are grown, other families have kids on the street. And it's not just the kids, it's like the old folks too. They walk up the street and look at them, to see trucks on the gas street, and you get worried. But you were talking about the signs before, okay? There's 3 there, there's one on the boulevard that says about the GPS, I know that. And the 3, at least 3 down by me. So, need more than signs, and they have to do something about the trucks not coming up the street, okay?
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Frank. We appreciate you. Anyone else? Anyone else from the public? Come on up. Please state your name, spell your last name.
My name is Vito Castaneda. I'm at 114 North 13th Street.
Can you just excuse me a second? Gentlemen in the hallway, can you just please step back, because that's going right into the mic, what your conversation? Thank you. Can you repeat your name, sir?
Vito Castaneda.
Did you get that?
No. A-I-T-O-R. Castaneda, C-A-S-T-A-N-H-E-I-R-A.
Your address, I'm sorry.
114 North 13th Street. And from what I understand here, we're gonna have a warehouse with 11 bays, right?
Yes.
So it's gonna be 11 trucks coming in now all day long, probably all night long. And as we all know, backing up trucks, that makes noise out of this world. I just had these very bad experience when these construction company used a lot. They were welding overnight the parking that we were using on the boulevard, and I couldn't sleep all night. And then there was these machines backing forward, backing up, backup alarms, and so on. So, but going to that building, it's going to be, you know, a lot of traffic, a lot of trucking traffic. It's going to be an area which is going to be an atmosphere with noise very high. And one of my most concerns is all these trucks coming in and out. No matter where they're coming or where they're going. Don't forget that there's a school next block. Truckers, sometimes they respect. They make moves and can be something very bad happen with kids going in. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Anyone else? Please state your name and spell your last name.
John Maines, M-A-I-N-E-S.
John, did you say?
Yes.
Okay. Can I have your address, please?
118 or 13.
11803.
The gentleman had brought up that they're going 9 to 5 with their operations. I've been out on North 13th for 26 years. Trucks are out there anytime from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. at night. You could ask the downstairs dispatcher how many times I've called about the trucks running all night. Is that going to be exasperated by these additions they want to put in? So, but I agree with the other folks here, the 18-wheelers coming down all those side streets is just atrocious. On average, once a week, an 18-wheeler gets stuck on North 13th and Franklin. They have to come out and get people to move their cars because they're on the street illegally. The section of road in front of the factory has existing no parking signs, no idling signs. Trucks are out there all day long, all night long. I just like to see if something could be done about that. And I just think this project is going to just make it all worse. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Seeing no one else from the public, is there a motion to close this portion? Closed by Mr. Grimaldi, seconded by Mr. Scuderi. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
I'd like to, can I ask you a question yet?
Good, yeah, you can ask any question you want.
All right.
Maybe
Yeah,
you don't
no,
have
go
to.
ahead. All right, go ahead.
I just wanted to add, one of the questions was the turning. There is a turning template on sheet 4. The parking area, the access here is almost 125 feet, and it shows adequate turnaround area. And again, the e-commerce system has limited hours. I can investigate, but they may not be related to this facility, but if they are, there's no need for it, and that's where the additional bays will help facilitate not having any staging or anything out on the street.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. Mr., yes, sir?
I'm sorry, I'll let Nick
Yeah,
go.
I want to make two comments. One, I want to make a comment is that, we've heard testimony, I'm not speaking for the board, I'm speaking for myself, so we've heard testimony, I've heard the terms modernizing the operations, but in short, modernizing the operations and upgrading the site are on totally different sides of the spectrum with this presentation. When honestly, and I have to say this, and I'm going to go on record, when Mr. Mastronardi said that this was a 20-year-old plan and they didn't really have any control over it, that kind of like, I didn't even want to hear that. That hurt me. But anyway, and I'm an engineer also. So anyway, that being said, we've heard a lot of testimony from the public. We've heard a lot of testimony from our engineer and our planner, and the engineer mentioned something about the lighting before, and he said like, when you got a give and take with the height of the lights and the power of the lights, and Mr. Grimaldi said about powering the street and making it light, but what about the residents in the back? Flip forward. Trucks is the issue, and the safety on the boulevard with the kids. Right turn restriction out of the driveway. Restrict right turns, put a concrete island in. I know it's going to mess up getting into the driveway, but you could put a permanent driveway, permanent concrete, whatever, on the right side of the egress so that you can't make a right turn. And I'll even go as far as saying, and I don't speak for the board, and I'm not speaking for the town either, because I know the residents are probably going to freak out. Excuse my English. But on 12th, right? On 12th, if the right turn restriction goes in place and you put a sign there, no right turn, and no right turn across the street, and the truck's still violated, hand out summonses, put bollards up on North 12th. No right turns for trucks. No entry on you guys' side, but you won't get any trucks coming down North 12th either. I get it. I know it won't be a good idea, but I'm just saying is that.
What I'm saying is the signs that are out there now for no trucks, they ignore them.
I get it. So if you put two bollards in the middle of the street, I don't want to go that way, because that's not helping the residents. I'm saying as far as the applicant concerns, restrict right turns coming out of the driveway. End of story. They make a right turn, it's up to the police department to enforce it, I guess.
Anyone else, Mr. Mazzio?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of gaps, especially from the engineering presentation, and obviously it's winding down to the fact that we have an opportunity as a board to, I know the applicant can't address all traffic issues. This is the beginning of a pretty large industrial area, and unfortunately, there's a lot of commingling with the residential areas. But we do have an opportunity here to improve this site, and things were brought up. And the gaps I'm talking about, we don't have the information. It would have been nice if we had the owner here to testify, that we really got some clear answers as to the loading of the site and all that. And we had a lot of answers that were very ambiguous. So, how do we deal with that? I'm not really sure. There was mention about a rendering. When would we be able to see that if we really want to see a rendering? Landscape buffers were brought up. I think they're very important to consider. And all these things, the few things, the lighting, all these things are important. Like I said, because we have an application in front of us, we have an opportunity where this building sat here for the longest time with nothing being done to it, that as a board that we can see what we could do to, at least in this fraction of the entire area, be able to help. And that's a great suggestion as far as what can we do from here, because we can't legislate what happens down 12th Street, but some better engineering as far as the site to address these issues would be a nice thing for us to see.
Anyone else? Mr. Scuderi?
So I agree with Mr. Mazzio with a lot of his points. I have the same beliefs. Not having the owner here, it's different from a professional telling us he's putting 3 times the amount of bays in, but he's not gonna have any more traffic. I don't believe it. And it's not different from the professional saying it than the owner saying it. We're not gonna go after a professional and say, hey, you told us there was no more truck traffic and there's 100 trucks a day. You don't need 11 bays if you're getting 4 or 5 trucks a day, in my opinion. And there are signs, I was looking on Google Maps and everything, the residents stated signs across from the parking lot as well. There's a couple signs, one of them's brand new, they're not following them, so I think we, this is one of the few applications that I've had more questions after we got done with the hearing than I did before the hearing.
Interesting. Anyone else? Mr. Grimaldi?
Well, I had a mouthful before, and I guess I'm just going to reiterate something.
Can you speak up, Mr. Grimaldi? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I had a mouthful before, and I guess I'm just going to reiterate what I said before. Nick, I do want to question. When you were saying right turn only, that's out of the parking lot.
No right turn out, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, no right turn.
Yeah, no right turn.
So, and you being an engineer and our professionals could weigh in on that, you could choke the driveway to the point.
You could choke the driveway, I mean, they could make it better. There's no curbing shown on here in the driveway. There's no structure to the driveway opening, so they can make it as, I mean, not that you want it wide, but with,
They could choke it down.
you can show, there's only turning movement templates on there for 1 bay, not 7, 1. And you could choke it down to how much do you need for the driveway to get in and to get out, to make a left turn in, to make a right, to get in.
A right in, a left out.
And left out, right, exactly.
And would we be in our ability to even ask for a bollard out there? Because we all know tractor trailers love to drive over curbs.
Well, however they make the driveways up to them. If they put bollards out there, hey, listen, I've seen, in my experience, I've seen bollards and they drive over bollards.
Yeah, but at least at that point, if the owner puts bollards and his tenants destroy his property, at least now the owner has a little meat in the game, so.
Yeah, you would think. Whatever, bollards, concrete, I don't know, whatever, but, is that gonna help? It might help. Is it gonna be enforced? I don't know. Is it, it's a start.
If you choke it down, it'll be harder for them to make a left going north on 12th Street into that lot.
No, they could make the driveway, look, they could engineer the driveway. If you put restrictions on it to get out, look, the getting in is not an issue. Getting out, they have to make a left. Design the driveway so you can make a left, but you can't make a right. So what do? Maybe you gotta put up a make-fix Jersey barrier and, or whatever.
You can modify the Jersey barrier with a 10-foot arm.
Yeah,
And then
what it are.
you heighten the curb from a regular 6-inch to 18-inch, so that if that truck's going over it, it's gonna make a lot of noise, and it's gonna be a pain in the ass. They'll actually.
It could be designed, it could be designed, is what we're saying.
And that's the thing that we,
Actually, Walmart actually did it on
Yes.
one side.
and we would need their engineer to present that design. But I think once you do it to restrict it, that they're only making a left out, I think it would be harder to make a left in going northbound on 12th as well.
Well, that would be a good thing then.
Yes, and that's exactly what I was agreeing with you.
Now, I think on that part, and Mr. Hale or the engineer could test to it, or if the owners here could test to it, I know from speaking with other industrial use owners, they'll say, with the straightest face, I don't control my trucks. They come in whatever. They come in by Waze, they come in by whatever. They come in by Google. They come in. Okay, fine. But if they come in and they can't get in the driveway, they're gonna figure out a way to get in the driveway.
Yeah. To the board's point, we had, Kevin's point specifically, we had a lot of engineering questions that really didn't get answered. The thought of going by a 20-year-old site plan that the engineer had no control over was really disappointing. But I don't think we'll be finishing tonight, but things that on that list, that lighting, landscaping, drainage, traffic, a comprehensive knowledge of all ingress and egress to the building, and somehow engineering that southeast driveway off of 12th Street to be limited so that it's harder to make a left turn into that driveway, and it's limited to a left turn out of that driveway.
Anyone else?
Just as far as the, from a planning perspective, to be able to say that it meets the no detriment requirement, I think we don't have enough information to say that it doesn't, especially the fact that I don't know, I didn't see any math as far as the additional 7 bays and how that works. It's not clear to me to be able to say that there's no detriment.
Real quickly, Chairman, I wouldn't say, I've lived there for a few years now with these owners. I'm glad they're there. I'm glad it's industrial. I'm glad they're using it for the use that they are. Yeah, even though sometimes the dumpster's there at 4:30, I'm still rather them there than a million houses or apartments. So we welcome you. You have some neighbors, some industrial neighbors that cast also a bad light to this property, because there's one directly next to you that blocks up the street all the time, all day long. But I am glad you're there. Hopefully this keeps your business thriving, so. That's it, sir.
You good? Okay, so I have listened real close to all the testimonies, specifically the residents. And the residents enlightened us with noise, safety, traffic patterns. They did their research, and what I come up with there is that going down 12th Street, every truck that goes down there is not going to that particular property. It's an ongoing problem that we have in our entire town. Not to make light of what you testified, I think you're 100% correct that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. But there is noise ordinances. The truck should not be running all night long. They should not have their lights on. They should not be welding and disturbing people who are in that area. We have ordinances and things in place that tell the people in these commercial and industrial areas what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. But we're not the enforcement body, and we can't do really anything about that. While we need to consider and take that into consideration, as Mr. Mazzio said, we have the opportunity now to adjust what's going on that property so we don't impact it in a worse situation. We have to try to make it better. But based on what I'm hearing from the board, and I would tend to agree, that the preparation on the, pretty much the engineering side, left a lot of questions wide open. And I think where we're going with this is that we feel that we need more information. And the information needs to be thorough. This is a high-impact area. You're never gonna stop hearing the trucks out there, residents, we know that, but they know that. But you have 7 more bays, you have 11 bays, it's going to bring in more trucking, but maybe, just maybe, if the testimony, when they come back, is such that I'm putting these in so I could restrict that nighttime truck, it's gonna be between the hours of 9 to 5, and 9 to 5 is not just the people who are administrative people, but truckers, offloaders, and everything else, because I have a business that I work from 6:30 to 4:30 in the morning, and every once in a while I get a truck in at 7:30 and 8 o'clock. I can't control that sometimes, but it's not the norm. You can look away on sometimes when that happens, but it should not be the norm. So we need to take all of those into considerations. So at this point, I think the board is looking to make a motion to either adjourn this or Mr. Hell. What I think what we're gonna do is continue.
Yes.
Continue this, and we would like you to prepare maybe a little bit differently, come back. I don't think we have to notice or anything like that, right?
No, we have no, we've heard what you said, all excellent suggestions and ideas. And again, unfortunately, the owners were not available this evening for religious purposes, but we'll make sure that they're necessary. We'll, certainly tomorrow morning, compile a list of all the issues that were here. We'll have a meeting on site with our professionals and the property owners and look into the suggestions that the board has made. Lighting, landscaping, access, driveway, and the like. It's all good, and they want it to work.
Okay. Mr. Hale, I just want to close out with one other thing. Although you know that we have a learned board here, we have engineers, contractors, architects, we have everything going on up here. So the one thing I don't want anyone to misconstrue is that although we made suggestions on how we think it could work, we're not asking you to go back there and do that. We're asking you to come and present the plan to us that you think is going to work.
Yep.
This was just brainstorming, spitballing, all of those things. They all have valid ways, as Mr. Bantina said and Mr. Grimaldi said. We're not planting a seed. We're telling you, these are some of the things that we're thinking of. What I guess I'm saying is, don't come back here and say, well, you said I could put this curb over here and put this bollard over there. We need your thought process, and if that's it, that's fine too. But the questions that are going to be asked need to be answered and researched prior to your next appearance.
And when we do have maybe an initial site meeting with our team, probably invite your professionals to maybe meet us on site also to discuss that.
That would be fine, and it would be advantageous for you to have the owner here.
Yep.
I don't even think that, this will not work without him here.
I don't disagree.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, are you done, Chairman? Are you done, Chairman?
I'm always done.
Well done.
A thought for your consideration. As all the board members have pointed out, there's a lot of items that have not been addressed, more technical in nature. Would the board consider taking this application back to a technical review committee?
Yes.
To review the site plan concerns before proceeding to the board? Or would this board like to hear the applicant directly?
I would invite a technical review.
Yeah.
I would invite that.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna shake out a lot of the questions, and before they get here,
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Suggestion.
Good idea.
Okay.
I would still request that it be carried perhaps to the next meeting without further notice, and if we're not prepared at that time, we'll just.
Yeah, I think the board should carry to a date specific, assuming we're not meeting on Tuesdays. just so the applicant does not have to review, a month might be tight, I don't know, because I had a number of things that the
Until
board
they're ready.
wanted
Until
to see, and want to do a TCC first. And, go ahead.
I'm sorry. The board may wish to consider carrying this application to our April 10th meeting so that this meets Mr. Rago's requirement of a date specific. That way, if the board meeting should change for May, the applicant is covered. And should the board make that decision, then we might want to give guidance to the public.
If the applicant's not ready on the 10th, we can always carry it again.
They will not be ready on the 10th.
To May.
We will not be ready to review the plans that they will not have ready for them, so.
You're saying they're not, we and they will not be ready by next meeting, it has to carry to April, is what you're saying?
To May.
To May, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, rather than throw it out, Mr. Masternari, is there any way you could be ready for an April 10th meeting, including a TRC?
I can be ready.
I don't know.
Do our best.
But yeah, we'll carry it to April 10th, and if they're ready, we move ahead, but I think TCC is a great idea.
So we're gonna go with that, and we are also gonna say that this will carry to either April 10th or the next meeting that we have, if the date should change to the fourth Tuesday of the month.
No.
Okay, which would give you a little bit more time, which I think you're gonna need.
Stipulate any extension.
Okay. I'd like to say one thing. It's obvious to me sitting here that the issue of traffic in that area weighs heavy. The public made a lot of comments. The board knows their town. I'm sure they're aware of it. Legally, in that this is a permitted use, in terms of traffic, this board is only permitted to consider access to the property, getting in, getting out, and traffic traffic patterns on the property. If this was a use variance, we could go beyond that and talk about the area traffic. But we're limited in terms of considering traffic to the site basically itself and safely getting in and out. The chairman made the point earlier, which I totally agree with. Given the fact that there are problems, we don't enforce that. That's a governing body situation, handing out tickets, having the police down there. So our charge is not to, how do you get from 22 to the site? That's too far beyond our jurisdiction. We're looking at, maybe there's some directional issues. Nick raised some points about getting in and getting out. Bob did. So we're kind of focusing, and I want the public to know, we're not here to look up and down the street as much as some of the board members may want to in terms of parking and who's speeding. This applicant we're mainly focused on the site, getting in, getting out, traversing the site with 18-wheelers or whatever's there. And I think Steve knows that. So let's not look for what's happening 3 blocks up the road or down the road, because we really can't do anything about that.
Well, on that note, on that note, and on Chairman's note, yes, okay, we're not here to fix local traffic issues, but we can comment on access and egress.
Oh, absolutely.
And in which case,
yes,
I said it, and Mr. Romali said it, and
I think that's important.
is about the right turn restrictions and
Yes.
potentially left turn in restrictions.
I think that's
well, again, me personally, that's not necessarily hey, that's our suggestion, you go figure it out. That's a comment that I have on record.
Yeah.
And
I think it's important.
And if we as the board, just like the professionals that we hire, can make comments that need to be resolved, and I think they should consider that, unless they come back and say, oh, it's totally impossible, we're never gonna be able to get a truck through here.
We have every right to look at access, left turns, right turns. My point was, if we're getting 2 and 3 and 4 blocks away, our jurisdiction evaporates. We don't have that power as a planning board with a permitted use.
I'm glad you cleared that up, Nick, because my point there was, I didn't want
No, you get it on the
that.
head.
Huh?
You get it on the head.
I didn't want someone to come back and say, well, this is what you told me I thought you wanted.
No, right.
You know, no, it's just, here's a suggestion, let's look at it from that perspective, you know. But with that being said, is there anyone else? Okay, so let's try to figure out how we're gonna make a motion here, and that would be that we are gonna have a TCC.
Yes.
TRC.
TRC in Kenilworth.
TRC in Kenilworth to, TRC prior to the meeting, correct?
Prior to April 10th, Mr. Mastronardi has indicated he could be ready by then.
Okay.
And if the applicant, we would need those plans a week before the TRC so we can review them. We have the meeting, then we would need time for them to revise if needed, and then resubmit, us to do our reports, and then to the
Yeah,
board.
that's very ambitious. But
I don't see it happening, but if he says he can do it, let him go for it.
He can do his plan, but then there's the rest of the
Right.
process.
Yeah.
Right,
It's only
Yes.
14 days or something.
But you need a date certain,
Yes.
okay.
so April 10th may be the
So the
date.
yeah, the 10th may be just the,
Just
where are we?
Folder.
Not placeholder.
Yeah. And if that's so, we can warn the public to check in beforehand to see if it will be heard, because we will know.
Right
We
away.
know pretty much right now,
No.
but we can give them definitive information a week out.
Okay. So again, they don't have to notice.
No, sir.
No.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to continue this with a TRC prior to the hearing on April, would it be the hearing?
April 10th?
April 10th. Motion made by Mr. Grimaldi, seconded by Mr. Scuderi.
Yeah.
Roll call.
7
You
PM
need a roll call here.
in this room, yeah, yeah.
Mr. Paterno?
Yes.
Mr. Pantina?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzio?
Yes.
Mr. Scuderi?
Yes.
Mr. Demondo?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Grimaldi?
Yes.
And Mr. Puglisi?
Okay, for the, just, if I may, for the public, what we just did is that the team with Mr. Hale is going to get together with our professionals somewhere within the next 2 weeks, let's say. They're gonna have what we call a TRC meeting to go over everything that we talked about. On April 10th, we're gonna be back here. There'll be no notice to that. So just know that April 10th is our meeting. We may find out either ahead of time that they're not prepared or ready, then we will probably just carry it to the next month. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
You got it? Okay, guys.
And time to make decision is extended
Sure,
Yeah.
we'll stipulate that.
to what we need, okay.
Anything, Mr.
The public may wish to call
Yes.
Borough Hall a week before April 10th, and they can tell you whether it's on or not April 10th. The only problem right now for us is that we may be changing board meeting dates, so we can't tell you when the next meeting is yet, but we'll know then.
Yes.
Is that okay, Chairman?
That's perfect.
Thank
And
you.
I will take, even though it's closed, I will take your question.
You said call Borough Hall. Who's in contact?
It should be.
Building Department.
Should be
Building department,
Kathy.
okay.
Do I have to do the TRCs now for this? No.
Kathy, you want to maybe give them your phone number and name so they know who to call? Or you or Wanda or
The clerk
whoever.
or the building
Who
department.
would actually get the call to find out if a meeting's there, Kathy? Is that Wanda? You would call Wanda Grimaldi at the building department. You ask for Wanda Grimaldi, she'll let you know if it's on. She'll set that for you. Okay?
Yeah.
Anything else, Mr. Hill?
No, other than thank you for your time and the suggestions, and look forward to our TRC.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Thank
Good
you.
night now.
The next meeting, I'm going to be doing a quick resolution for consistency.
Okay.
Just so you know.
All right, we have a little bit more business, guys, before we go home, okay? Kathy, any comments for the good of the board? No comments for the good of the board? Okay, I have one. Happy Easter to everyone. Okay, we're gonna open the meeting to the public. Anyone want to open the meeting to the public? Opened by Mr. Scuderi, seconded by Mr. Grimaldi. All in favor? Aye. Anyone from the public wishing to speak?
No.
Seeing none, the meeting will be closed by Mr. Demondo, seconded by Mr. DeLuca. All in favor? Aye. A motion to adjourn by Mr. Scuderi, seconded by Mr. Mazzio. All in favor? Happy Easter, everybody. You don't need so much trouble.